All right. That during the campaign for president, when Joe Biden was running against Donald Trump, this story started circulating about Joe Biden and his involvement in Hunter Biden's overseas business dealings. Peter Doocy was covering Joe Biden running for president and asked him, have you ever spoken to your son about Hunter's overseas business dealings? And he said no. Then, of course, the laptop from hell came out. And then about 10 days ago, from that laptop, a voicemail obtained by the Daily Mail and the Washington Examiner from Joe Biden, where Joe Biden leaves a voicemail for Hunter. And what's he talking about? He's talking about his son's Chinese business partner. Listen to the voicemail.
Hey, pal, it's Dad. It's 8:15 on Wednesday night. If you get a chance, give me a call. Nothing urgent. Just want to talk to you. I thought the article, at least the thing online, it's going to be printed tomorrow in the Times, was good. I think it's clear. And anyway, if you get a chance, give me a call. I love you.
You know, behind the scenes, a lot of things happen before these articles get printed with really explosive information. And when I heard that voicemail, what occurred to me is that there was some massaging by Team Biden, probably with this newspaper, about how they were going to put this out in a way that was, you know, a little bit more malleable. In any case, Peter Doocy pressed Karine Jean-Pierre, because we all heard the voicemail. It's hard to deny it's there, when he just told Peter Doocy, as you mentioned, on the campaign trail, that he literally knows nothing, that there's this firewall between him. I know, there's this firewall between Hunter and him. And here's Peter Doocy pressing Karine Jean-Pierre on that voicemail.
Why is there a voicemail of the president talking to his son about his overseas business dealings if the president has said he's never spoken to his son about his overseas business dealings?
Well, first I'll say that what the president said stands. So if that's what the president said, that is what stands. And
he's leaving a voicemail about a New York Times article concerning Hunter Biden's business dealings, and he says, I think you're clear. How is that not him talking to his son about his overseas business dealings?
We're not, from this podium, I am not going to talk about alleged materials from the laptop.
So are you disputing the president's voice on the voicemail?
I am not going to talk about alleged materials on the laptop.
Are
it's
you
not
disputing
happening
then that it is not?
Peter, I refer you to his son's representative.
That's a partnership to invest in American infrastructure and energy deals.
Yeah.
So the laptop, again, continues to be a story that they continue to deflect, and there's no follow-up in that room for people curious to see what Joe Biden's involved with, which is just insane. The other thing to keep in mind is, in the New Yorker story that they asked him about the Burisma deal, and he said, son, I hope you know what you're doing. He said, I do, Dad. So that shows that he does talk to his son about his overseas business dealings. The question is, in what detail, and where is all this money?
Well, it's interesting because for the press secretary to say, speak to Joe Biden or speak to Hunter Biden's representative, Peter was asking about Joe Biden on the voicemail. So Peter was asking Joe Biden's representative about what was going on with that particular thing right there. And for her to say alleged materials, it sounds like obviously they're lawyered up. They know they don't want this to come back and to haunt him.
They can't say alleged anymore about the authenticity of that laptop. Everyone, including the newspapers that we know are very much aligned with the Democrat Party, have had to come out and admit that it is not Russian disinformation, that the laptop is authentic. And I think what people need to know, or people deserve to know, is whether Joe Biden is working for his family or the American people. I find it curious that when his solution to the inflation problem in America is something that kind of benefits, that very much benefits the Chinese government by reducing tariffs. I mean,
no, he's taking them off.
I know, taking them away, exactly. So that's very odd. It's clear that the Chinese know exactly what Hunter, Joe, and Jim Biden, and potentially even Jill Biden, have been up to. And, you know, they have to appease them in order to cover up their secret, dirty deals.
And Rachel, add to that, when it's time for Joe Biden to go, then you'll see Jake Tapper and all these guys start asking him the question, Joe, is that your voicemail? I think you're compromised. If he won't step aside on his own, The media will start asking questions about this laptop and these dealings. The FBI investigation will start hitting turbo speed, and there'll be no choice but for him to go.
Well, there was additional questioning on the topic after she told Peter to talk to Hunter Biden's representative. Real Clear Politics reporter Philip Wegman then said, hey, Karine, Joe Biden said, I will always level with the public. What happened to that promise? And of course, once again, she just said from the podium, we're not going to talk about the laptop. So obviously, her boss and probably the boss's boss said, don't say anything about the laptop.
So nothing in the notebook about the laptop.
Well, the laptop speaks for itself and shows that Hunter Biden was paying his father's bills. And so that's a very odd arrangement. I wish my kids would pay my bills. Yes.
I wonder if his Secret Service name is the big guy. That would be interesting.
He definitely is the big guy.